Don't scroll just yet. This might be exactly what you need to hear today. In a world that constantly demands our presence, our attention, and our immediate responses, there's a revolutionary waiting to be embraced. When you stop being available, everything truly changes. This isn't about arrogance or indifference. It's about reclaiming your invaluable energy, precious time, and inner peace. It's about a profound shift in how you interact with the world and, more importantly, how the world interacts with you. Have you ever observed those rare individuals who wield an almost supernatural ounce over their surroundings without uttering a single word? They don't resort to shouting, begging, or demanding attention. Instead, they simply withdraw, and in that powerful act of withdrawal, an undeniable shift occurs. The very energy dynamic around them transforms. People begin to question their own assumptions. They start to chase, and they feel the profound weight of that person's absence. Now, imagine if you were to adopt this transformative practice in your own life. What if, instead of reacting immediate to every provocation, you chose the quiet strength of silence over automatic responses? What if, instead of exploding in frustration or anger, you consciously retreated? The answer to what would happen lies in a deep psychological truth. When you cease to be constantly available, emotionally, physically, and psychologically, the world around you enters a profound crisis. For too long, others have grown accustomed to controlling you through your predictable reactions, your impulses, and your unwavering predictability. But the very moment you choose to withdraw, the game changes entirely. Those who once believed they knew you truly never did. As Carl Jung sagely noted, everything that irritates us at others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves. When you become less accessible, a fascinating dynamic unfolds. Who begins to panic? Who grows visibly irritated? And who desperately tries to provoke you, solely to elicit a reaction? The answers to these questions will reveal far more about them than they will about you, exposing just how deeply you would have been manipulated without ever realizing it. This phenomenon highlights what can be called the illusion of availability. From our earliest childhood, we are subtly conditioned to believe that our inherent worth is inextricably linked to how readily available we are to others. We are taught, almost instinctively, to respond quickly, to please, to say yes, even when every fiber of our being yearns to say no. But this excessive availability, far from being a virtue, is in fact a subtle yet powerful prison. When you are perpetually accessible, you become utterly predictable, and predictability, in turn, renders you a mere tool in the hands of others. People begin to use you as an emotional emergency button, pressing you for attention, for validation, or simply as a distraction. And then, once their immediate need is met, they discard you when you are no longer deemed useful. You remain trapped in a persistent illusion, clinging to the belief that by being present for everyone else, someone will, in turn, truly be present for you. Yet this simply isn't how it works. Jung delved into the concept of the persona, the mask we meticulously craft and wear to be accepted, to be loved, and to be recognized by the world. This very mask, ironically, is what keeps you overly available, perpetually at the beck and call of others. Think about it, you utter a polite, "I'm fine," even when you're suffocating under the weight of expectations. You respond to messages instantly, reflexively, even when exhaustion has completely claimed you. You find yourself constantly explaining, justifying, and defending your actions, as if you owe the entire world some form of explanation or apology. But the more you surrender your authentic self, placing yourself at the center of others' elaborate stages, the more you tragically disappear from your own. Being constantly available is not merely a habit, it is a subtle, insidious form of self-abandonment. It's a cleverly disguised means of seeking approval, of desperately avoiding rejection, and of attempting to control how others perceive you. But this illusion of comes at an incredibly high cost. It drains your peace, saps your energy, and ultimately erodes your very identity. Jung also offered profound insights into the energy economy of the psyche. He envisioned the psyche as a complex energy system, where every single thought, every emotion, and every action consumes psychic energy. This leads to a critical question that begs your introspection. Were you consciously choosing where your precious energy flows? Or is the world around you dictating its destination? Each time you react impulsively, you squander vital energy. When you find yourself defending against baseless criticism, engaging in pointless arguments, or desperately trying to please those who simply do not value your inherent worth, you are systematically draining inner strength, leaving yourself depleted and unnourished. Jung issued a powerful warning: what you resist persists. The more intensely you react, the more inextricably you become bound to toxic dynamics. Emotionally drained individuals aren't inherently weak. They are simply misdirected, their focus scattered, and their resilience depleted. And when you are exhausted, you become inherently vulnerable. Manipulative individuals possess a keen intuition for this vulnerability. They effortlessly notice your lack of self-preservation, your tendency to react to every stimulus, and they will shamelessly exploit it for their own gain. A healthy psyche, by contrast, is a master of energy conservation. It possesses the innate wisdom to say no, without a flicker of guilt, to embrace silence without feeling cowardly, and to observe the unfolding circumstances before ever choosing to act. True power, it becomes abundantly clear, is not found in reactive responses. Instead, it resides in the deliberate choice of when and how to engage with the world. This brings us to a crucial understanding of how others feed on your energy. Most emotional reactions are not conscious choices, they are in fact deeply programmed responses. And those who comprehend this fundamental truth can effortlessly manipulate you without you even realizing it. Jung introduced the compelling concept of projection, a fascinating psychological mechanism where individuals unconsciously project onto others the very aspects they refuse to acknowledge or see within themselves. But there's a darker, more unsettling side to this. The more emotionally available you are, the more you unwittingly become a blank canvas upon which these projections are effortlessly painted. Consider, for a moment, that friend who only reaches out to you in times of crisis, the person who seems to perpetually require saving, or the individual who showers you with praise only when they find you useful. These individuals are not genuinely relating to you as a person, they are relating exclusively to the role you play in their lives. And why do you comply with this dynamic? Because deep down, you fear disappointing them, you fear abandonment, and you fear not being loved. The most effective forms of manipulation rarely rely on brute force. Instead, they thrive in the insidious presence of guilt. You become consumed by a pervasive feeling that you owe something to others, that you must remain available, even when that availability is actively destroying you. But the very moment you choose to stop reacting, the entire game shatters. When you bravely say no, when you respond with deliberate silence, or when you withdraw without feeling the need for lengthy explanations, their carefully constructed projections crumble into dust. Your newfound unavailability forces them to confront their own emptiness, their own uncomfortable void, and that, quite simply, terrifies them. This is the power of silence. In a noisy, clamorous world where everyone seems to be shouting to be heard, silence emerges as the most devastatingly potent weapon. This isn't the silence of passivity or indifference, but rather the profound silence of conscious, strategic withdrawal. Jung viewed this deliberate silence as fertile ground for true transformation. When you cease to react, you gain the valuable opportunity to simply observe. You begin to clearly see the intricate emotional patterns, the cunning manipulation tactics, and the insidious self-sabotaging cycles that were once completely invisible to you. Have you ever noticed the subtle panic that ripples through people when you simply don't respond? It's not because they genuinely miss you. It's because your silence actively strips them of their narrative control. While you are speaking, you are still playing within their established game. But the moment you choose silence, you fundamentally change the rules. True silence isn't an absence, it's an amplified presence. It's the steadfast refusal to be dragged into battles that are emphatically not yours. It is, in essence, an assertion of your sovereignty over your own energy. However, this profound silence does come with a cost. It will inevitably create distance between you and those who have always valued you only for your utility, for what you can provide. You may be labeled as cold or arrogant or distant, but these labels are merely the knee-jerk reactions of individuals who were never truly willing to face your depth. They were interested only in your usefulness to them. This journey leads to a powerful rebirth. When you make the conscious decision to stop being universally available, something profoundly transformative begins to happen. Initially, you encounter a void, an uncomfortable silence that might even feel like a loss. But gradually, almost imperceptibly, this void begins to transform. It cleanses, it calms, and ultimately it heals. Then comes the sweet gift of solitude. Not the crushing loneliness of absence, but a sacred solitude of total self-presence. It's the solitude of an individual who no longer betrays their true self merely to keep others close. In this sacred space, clarity effortlessly replaces confusion. Peace gently replaces anxiety. Strength blossoms, replacing neediness. Jung referred to this profound process as individuation. The journey of becoming who you truly are by consciously distancing yourself from the collective mask that society often compels us to wear. You will undeniably lose some people along this path. But in that loss, you will ultimately find your true self. You may be misunderstood, perhaps even at times rejected, but in the end, you will gain true respect. You will walk alone, but you will stand completely whole. This is the price of freedom. Conscious unavailability is not a passive act of arrogance or indifference. On the contrary, it is an active, deliberate reclamation of your energy, your time, and your inner peace. This transformative journey begins with small, courageous acts, not responding immediately to every demand, taking a deep breath before reacting impulsively, consciously walking away from chaos and unnecessary drama, and most importantly, saying no, without a shred of guilt. You are not obligated to offer explanations for your absence. Your silence, its profound truth, speaks far louder than any justification you could ever offer. This path, undeniably, is not an easy one. You will likely grapple with feelings of guilt. You may even be labeled as selfish by those who cannot comprehend your newfound boundaries. But this, my friend, is the sacred price of self-determination. When you bravely say no to the incessant demands of the world, you are, in the deepest sense, saying a resounding yes to yourself. Jung profoundly understood that true individuation necessitates a form of isolation. Not the depressive, debilitating kind, but a sacred kind of retreat. It is a sanctuary where you can finally relearn the authentic sound of your own voice, uncluttered by external noise. The people who resent your absence never truly wanted you in the first place. They only wanted the specific role you played in their lives. And now that you no longer fit neatly into that predefined role, they find themselves utterly at a loss, unsure of how to navigate their interaction with you. This, my friend, is true freedom. So, I urge you to ask yourself this profound question. Are you truly ready to be misunderstood, perhaps rejected, or even hated, if it means finally being free? Because when you make the courageous decision to stop being constantly available, everything, and I mean everything, changes.